everyone, and welcome to day 8 of my Halloween card making series. So for today's card, I am using this Sweet November Stamps image called Mumford the Mummy. I am really enjoying these little characters that Amy Young has drawn up. They're so cute. And for something different, I thought today I would use my cool gray markers to color in his little bandages, since I was kind of obsessed with the warm gray markers for a while. And then this way you guys can see like how it gives it a completely different look when you use the cool tones as opposed to the warm tones. So what I'm doing is I've started off with C1. I went in and added that, and now I'm just going in with C3 and adding a bit of a darker shade. I'm not being very particular with the color, just kind of putting it where the darker areas would be. And then just blending that out again with the C1. And yeah, it's really easy. These are pretty much my favorite little Halloween images to color because it's just so simple. Like, you're not blending a bunch of colors together, and you don't have to be precise, because really the messier the better in a way, because they're just bandages that are wrapped everywhere. So once I blended the C1 and the C3 together, I was using C00 to blend them even more, and then finally I go in with the colorless blender to really push a lot of the color deeper into the cardstock. I'm using CC Designs Copic Quality 110 pound cardstock, so it's a really heavyweight cardstock, so which is kind of perfect for images like this, because then you can really push the color deeper in if you want to lighten it up a bit, and it just gives you the ability to blend a fair bit more without the marker bleeding through the lines. Oh, and I stamped it in Memento Tuxedo Black as always. And then for skin, I am coloring it green. Normally I would go for actual skin tones for this, but one of the little brads I'll be using in a bit totally inspired me. It had a little mummy on it, and it had green skin, and I thought, hey, why not? So I went in with my YG21 as the lightest, added some YG23 in the darker areas, and then YG25 as the darkest shade, and then working my way back to blend everything together. So he's got his nice little green skin going on, and then I went back in with my YG23 just to darken around the eyes a bit, and then blended that again with the YG21. And then for his tongue, I just used R02, more of a kind of orangey color. I didn't want it to be quite pink because the pattern paper I'm using has obviously a bit of orange in it. And then I just went in and colored his hands the same way, just the YG21, then the 23 and the 25. Since it's such a tiny image, the ink stays wet that you don't even really have to blend. You just dab the ink on and it all blends together. And then I'm going to cut them out with these are Stampin' Up! Paper snips, or the scissors I use for trimming my images, and I've been getting a lot of questions about that, so I thought I'd show how I cut out the images like this. Basically, I use as far into the scissors as I can when I'm cutting, and I move the image more than I move the scissors. And for me, I don't have a problem with having steady hands. It's just I just do. I balance my hands pretty well. It's not really something I think of. I guess for some people it's really hard to do that, but having steady hands and working deeper in the scissors makes a difference rather than the tips, because you have no control over the tips of the scissors. So I hope that helps anyone. So once I've got him cut out, I'm going to start using my pattern paper, and I'm just going to show you guys that's the little brad that totally inspired me to color him the way I did. I have to apologize, all the pattern paper in these brads are from the My Mind's Eye Boo to You collection, and those were discontinued last year, I think. So I love the papers, I have tons of them left, so I had to use them on a card. Now here I've just taken a square of the pattern paper. I cut it with my craft knife, just to cut an X, no, not precise at all, and then I'm just tearing and curling the papers. With the idea that I wanted to have it look like this little Mumford character was like ripping out, like coming out from the cardstock. So I've done cards like this in the past, and I thought it'd be fun to show that in a video. It's just super simple, really. Tearing, cutting, easy to do. So then I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive just around the edges of it to adhere it to the pattern paper that is matting that. And I decided to go with another 5.5 inch square card because this main image with that pattern paper was so big it took up a regular A2 size card. There was no space left. So this way I've got a little bit more space to work with. And then I had to add a sentiment, so I just took a scrap of white cardstock and stamped the Boo from my Ghostly Greeting set with Memento Pear Tart ink. It matches almost perfectly. And then the 2U with black ink. And then this is the Stampin' Up! Key Tag punch. I actually remember the name of this punch. Can't remember any of the other ones, but this one I do. And then I punched the one side of it, and then it took a little bit of shifting and fiddling, but I was able to slip the other end in so that I was able to make it really short like that. And you'll see when I do the inside of the card, the pattern paper has all these little kind of squares shaped like that. That's why I did the punch, or punched the sentiment like that. I wanted it to kind of match. And then I didn't like how it was completely stark white, so I just took my gray Copics and colored around the edge of it, and then blended it out really, really well with my colorless blender, just to give it a slight little hint of gray to kind of go with those little bandages of his. So then, of course, I had to add the little CC Designs spider chain die cut out with black cardstock. I'm kind of obsessed with that die. I'm trying to use it on every card. It's ridiculous, I know, but I always want to use it. And then I grabbed a couple little orange Prima flowers from my stash so that I could attach that with that little mummy brad, because I had to use it. It was just too cute not to. And then just a matter of adhering everything together. So just using my ATG adhesive gun to apply all of that. And then for the spider chain die, I did what I've been doing always, is just dabbing a tiny bit of the Tombow Mono Multi onto the center of the little spider bodies. It's such a fine die that you kind of have to be careful with the adhesive, otherwise it just gets everywhere. So I found this is the easiest way to do it. And then for the sentiment, I'm just using these little 3D foam squares because I want the sentiment to be popped up. So then we get that in place, and then I wanted to add some more brads just to kind of finish off that top corner. So I took this smaller little Boo to You brad. It's got a little spider guy on it. So I put him in place, and then I added some little mini black brads. And again, this template, the piercing template I'm using, that's from Stampin' Up! But then I added 4 little black brads above it, and that I was just inspired by that main green piece pattern paper that had all these little spiders dangling from the black dot, so I thought I'd just kind of recreate that with the brads and then that little spider brad. And then, as always, using my We Are Memory Keepers brad setting tool to set all those brads. That is a must-have tool. I bought mine from stampingbella.com, but for some reason they're not carrying it anymore, so I've been linking directly to the We Are Memory Keepers site. And then after that, I am adhering the Prima flowers with that little mummy brad. And once I've got him in place, it's time to adhere the actual mummy image. So again, I'm just using some of the 3D foam squares and then a teeny bit of Mono Multi just on his feet so that I get him adhered the way I want him. And that is it for the card front. So tape over the backs of the brad so that the adhesive goes on smoother, and then put that onto the card base itself. And then before I felt I was completely done, I had to add a little bit of, I think I used crystal stickles. I chose the crystal ones because they've got kind of like a green glitter in them, so I thought that would just go better with the pattern paper. So then set that aside to dry, and then this was the pattern paper I was talking about with those little curved kind of squares. That's why I cut the sentiment the way I did. So just fiddling around with the layout, and then on the white piece for the message to the recipient, I just wanted to stamp Mumford the Mummy again. This time I just used Memento London Fog ink. It's just a nice gray. And then I also wanted to add a sentiment to the inside of the card as well. So I just took the Happy Halloween sentiment from the Ghostly Greeting set and stamped the Halloween with the Pear Tart ink and then the Happy with black ink. And then of course I had to add another little spider chain cardstock to that as well. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. I just adhered everything together and adhered that to the inside of the card, and that's all there was to it. As always, links will be in the description box below the video, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!